به نظر چرا این مسئله بعد از مدت‌ها همچنان سر زبون است؟ این بزرگترین شکستیه که تا حالا داشتیم.
This is it.
It's massive.
That is a key that will help us unlock this mystery.
We've got to give it a red hot go.
Absolutely, we would stand ready to assist as we're asked.
If that doesn't say we need to search again, and I don't know what does.
سالهاست که در حال بررسی حادثه ناپدید شدن پرواز 370 هستیم. در سال 2020 گزارشی از داستان پشت پرده این حادثه رو فراهم کردیم. الان تقریباً 8 سال بعد از ناپدید شدنش پیشرفت دیگه و به طور بالقوه بزرگی داشتیم. مکان دقیق هواپیما. ما اونقدر مدیون خانواده ها هستیم که یک جستجوی نهایی انجام بدیم.
It's overwhelming to think that something so simple could actually solve this mystery nearly 8 years on. And it's heartbreaking for us, but the fact that something has come about and is so promising, we have to hold on to that because that's all we've got is hope.
مایک، چرا فکر می‌کنی اینقدر مهمه که پیداشون کنیم که دوباره بگردیم؟
If for nothing else for the next of kin, we need to put this to bed. The only reason to keep looking is to find the flight recorder. An aircraft has gone missing and we don't know why.
مایک گلین، کاپیتان سابق کانتاس، دوباره روی کار اومده. میخواد دوباره جستجوی هواپیما آغاز بشه و معتقده که میتونه اونها رو پیدا کنه. WSPR میتونه به همون کمک کنه پرواز 370 رو پیدا کنیم؟ ویسپر شبکه‌ای از سیگنال‌های رادیویی ضعیفه که کره زمین رو کاملاً پوشش میده. این سیستم با استفاده از رادیو آماتور یا رادیو هام منجر به ایجاد یک فناوری ردیابی جدید شده.
Ham radio is a amateur radio operator using long range radios.
خب هدفشون چیه؟
They talk to each other.
همه جا
Around the world.
هواپیماها رو نگاه میکنن. این اینجاست، اون اونجاست.
They're not even looking at aircraft. They're just talking to each other. They're logging who can talk to them and all this sort of thing. This whole idea about tracking aircraft was a very recent development.
ریچارد گاتفری، مهندس هوافضای بریتانیایی، با کمک کاپیتان مایک گلین برنامه رو توسعه دادن که طرز کارش این شکلیه. اپراتورهای هام سیگنالی ارسال میکنن تا ببینن چه مسافتی طی میکنن. توسط دیگر اپراتور که دریافت شد، وارد پایگاه داده ویسپر میشن. شواهد ما به سال 2009 برمیگرده. اون کجا قرار میگیره؟
Well, people started thinking maybe with the knowledge that when aircraft pass through these links between these two stations, that sometimes they change the signal and that can be picked up.
این سیگنال‌ها مثل تریپ وایر عمل میکنن. هواپیمایی که ازشون عبور کنن میتونن ردیابی بشن و خیلی هم دقیقن. سیگنال‌ها هر 2 دقیقه ارسال میشن. این کار منجر به تشخیص مسیر دقیق تری برای هواپیما میشه و مهمتر از اون آخرین محل توقف رو مشخص میکنه. این بزرگترین پیشرفت در تمام این مدته. درسته؟
It's massive. It's massive. And look, it's something we've been waiting for nearly 8 years. And, you know, there has been a hiatus with COVID, and which we understand, but it's also given, you know, these experts time to go back, sit down, run the numbers. You know, it's connect the dots at this point. It really just blew my mind. It was Have we found it? This is it. This is what we need.
این مسئله خیلی بزرگه.
Potentially very much so. Yes, I'd say it's a game changer because it introduces a whole new way of thinking about what actually happened.
برای اینکه بدونیم چه اتفاقی افتاده، باید به گذشته برگردیم. به باند پرواز این هواپیما. در تاریخ هوانوردی هیچ معمایی مثل این پرواز خطوط هوایی مالزی وجود نداشته. پرواز MH370 به قدری مهم بود که اکثر مردم اون را میشناختند. این هواپیمای مسافربری مدرنی بود که 8 مارس 2014 از فرودگاه کوالالامپور بلند شد و به همراه خلبانان، خدمه و تمام مسافرانش از رادارها ناپدید شد. حتی تا امروز هم هیچ کس نمیدونه کجاست. اما در مورد اون چه اتفاق افتاده دلایل زیادی شناخته شده. مقامات شکست‌های تحقیقاتی و انگیزه‌های احتمالی خلبان را پنهان می‌کردند. در فرودگاه کوالالامپور روز کاری معمولی بود. هیچ چیز غیرعادی وجود نداشت. نه هواپیماهای روی باند و نه مسافران منتظر در ترمینال. خلبانان این هواپیما، کاپیتان ظهاری احمدشاه و به دنبال آن کمک خلبان اول فاروق حمید که از خلبانان خبره بودند، از گیت بازرسی عبور کردند.
He has been flying on 777 as a captain since 1998, and he has clocked well over 16,000 flight hours, so a very senior captain.
این هواپیما یه بوئینگ قدرتمند بوده. بنابراین کاپیتان ظهاری شاه توی خطوط هوایی و هواپیمای بسیار خوبی بوده. و موقعیت خوبی داشته. مسلط بوده. ساعت 12:42 بامداد به وقت محلی پرواز 370 مالزی پرواز کرد.
Good night, Malaysia 370 were the last words heard from anyone on that flight. And at the same time, the plane disappeared from radar screens.
The aircraft was supposed to land in Beijing at 6:30 a.m.
پس هنوز امیدوار بودید که اون پرواز به پکن برسه.
Yes.
6:30 صبح در پکن، زمانی که هواپیما باید فرود می اومد، تأخیرش از طرف فرودگاه اعلام شد. همه دچار هراس و نگرانی شدند. آخرین نقطه تماس روی دریای جنوبی چین بود. بنابراین جستجو هم از اونجا آغاز شد. مایک گلین درست پس از مفقود شدن هواپیما در حال بازگشت به استرالیا بود و پروازش دقیقاً از روی دریای چین جنوبی می‌گذشت.
You can see them at night time. It's one of the great sights in aviation. There's just this vast number of fishing boats there, and I'm going, there's no way an aircraft could crash here without being seen. There's absolutely no chance.
239 نفر از جمله 6 استرالیایی از بین رفتند. نخست وزیر استرالیا در آن زمان تونی ابوت بود.
the Malaysian Prime Minister and I offered Australian assistance. At that stage, we thought that the plane had disappeared somewhere in the South China Sea.
اما MH370 در دریای چین نبود. شواهد اولیه رادارها و داده‌ها مشخص کرد که وقتی ارتباط قطع شده، هواپیما به سمت مالزی برگشته و تا چند ساعت در اون منطقه پرواز کرده. وقتی 370 از حریم هوایی مالزی وارد ویتنام شده، کلی اخطار از کنترل کننده های ترافیک هوایی دو کشور ارسال شده. در همون زمان تجهیزات ارتباطی هواپیما همگی با هم خاموش شدند.
That means you're not visible on civilian radar. And essentially, if you're not visible on civilian radar, nobody can see where you are.
داده ها نشون داده که هواپیما بالای شبه جزیره مالایا پرواز کرده. جزیره پنانگ را دور زده و از تنگه مالاگا و دریای آندامان هم عبور کرده. این حرکاتش حتی در رادارهای نظامی دیده شده، اما هیچ کس کاری نکرد.
They did not scramble a jet to go and see what was going on. They could have saved us 8 years of pain and suffering. They didn't do that.
I think the initial response by the Malaysian government was, shall we say, it took them a while to get organised.
There is this system which not even pilots knew about until MH370, which is that although he turned off all these systems he could turn off, there's one which emits via satellite data from engine performance. And the way it works is that, in this case, about every hour, there's a satellite handshake. The aircraft will send a signal to the satellite with data on it, and the satellite will respond, but then transfer that data to a ground station. In this case, it was actually in Perth in Western Australia.
هر ساعتی که 370 در حال پروازه، ماهواره‌ها داده‌ها رو با کمی تأخیر از موتورها دریافت می‌کنند. هواپیما تا ارسال سیگنال نهایی که بهش کمان هفتم هم میگن، ردیابی میشه.
That seventh handshake produced a band, which is an arc, and that's where the science suggests the aircraft would be somewhere on that arc, but we don't know where on the arc.
زمانی که هواپیما از این کمان عبور کرد، ارسال اطلاعات متوقف شد. یعنی در اونجا سفرش به پایان رسید. لاشه هواپیما جایی در جنوب اقیانوس هند و همونطور که ما به زودی فاش می‌کنیم، یک منطقه سقوط احتمالی بالاخره کشف میشه.
Anything down there, we will find it. We owe it to the families of those people to do no less.
این بزرگترین جستجو در تاریخ خواهد بود که فرمانده سابق نیرو هوایی انگوس هیوستون اون رو رهبری میکنه.
Here's this jet, on the most reliable jets flying, 777. It disappears and you have loved ones aboard. Well, what happened? Well, we don't know what happened. Where is it? We don't know where it is. We're searching. We're using everything that's available to us, but we can't find it.
بعد از این همه مدت، بعد از این همه پول و وقتی که سر بزرگترین جستجو صرف شده، به بنبست رسیدن رادیوهام خارج از تصوره. ممکنه که پیداشون کرده باشیم؟
Oh gosh, I know, and I think about that, and it's just been hell on earth living in this, surreal world of this plane going missing. And, at the end of the day, yes, it's been a long time, but at least people have still been looking. That's the big thing.
ما اولین بار 2 سال پیش دانیکا ویکس رو دیدیم. اون قشنگ یادشه که چطور متوجه شد شوهرش گم شده. نه از خطوط هوایی مالزی، بلکه از یک خبرنگار.
I got a call from a lady in New Zealand and she asked for Paul. And I said, oh, no, sorry, look, he's on a plane to Beijing at the moment. And she said, so you don't know? And I said, well, no. And she goes, there's been an incident with the plane. Sorry.
I'd like you all now to raise your glasses and join me in a toast to my beautiful bride, Danica.
پل ویکس قرار نبود داخل این پرواز باشه. برای کار توی معدن مس راهی مغولستان شده بود. قرار بود در پکن یک دوره مقدماتی راه بندازه. این ویدیویی از خونه پال همراه 2 پسر خردسالش روز قبل از رفتن اونه.
At first, he was booked on Cathay Pacific, and it was only a day and a half before he got on the flight that it changed to Malaysian Airlines.
آخرین حرفش چی بود؟
When he was heading off to Mongolia, he said, look, I can't wear my wedding ring and watch on site. Obviously, they're not allowed to, working with big machinery. And he said, so I want you to keep my wedding ring and watch and give the ring to the first son that gets married and the watch to the second son. And I said, oh, don't be stupid, you know, you're going to be fine. You'll go there, come back.
از اون وقت 8 سال گذشته. 8 سال طولانی که نمیدونست چه اتفاقی برای همسرش افتاده. 8 سال بیخبر بود از این که کجاست. و تمام این مدت امید داشت که یه روز بفهمه. حالا دوباره امیدش زنده شده. یه محل سقوط احتمالی هست. ما قبلا در این مورد صحبت کردیم. اینجور لحظه ها که امید کاذب داری و با خودت میگی پیدا شد، نه نشد. این بار پیدا شد، نه نشد. حالا همه چی از اول شروع شده. فرقش چیه؟
Well, yes, along the way we have, been through so much, and it's been a real roller coaster of hope and dashed hopes. And so I made sure that I read through this and understood it before I put any energy into it. And everything I've read is just so amazing, and it's just what we wanted. I get goosebumps. I'm excited. I know it's crazy to say, but we've just never felt so close. And the time has been there to really get this information and trace this plane. And I feel that this is it. I feel this is it.
Coming up.
When you ditch a 175-ton airplane, that's a massive impact.
The plane most likely would have flown further south.
یعنی اقرار میکنید که اینو باور دارید؟
There is credence to this new theory.
He must have been talking with someone. It's just a complete cover-up.
بخشی از اون چه که کل معمای پرواز رو تشکیل میده، تئوری‌های توطئه‌آمیز در مورد اتفاقات حین پروازه. فقط باید یه سرچ اینترنتی بکنید تا تئوری‌های خیلی رنگارنگ‌تری ببینید. اینکه در جنگل کامبوجه، یا توسط سیاهچاله مکیده شده، یا توسط روس‌ها اسیر شده. اما کارشناسا با ذکر مثالای واقعی اینا رو به چند سناریوی محتمل‌تر محدود کردن که همه اونا به یه مکان ختم میشن. فرقشون اینه که چطوری به اونجا رسیدن.
My theory is what's always been is that it was the captain who was responsible. It's done probably as a political protest.
کاپیتان ظهاری احمدشاه از نظر سیاسی فعال و یکی از بستگان دور انوار ابراهیم رهبر مخالفان کشور بود. ابراهیم یک روز قبل از پرواز متهم به تجاوز و محکوم شد.
He was said to be quite upset by that verdict. Now, he was active in the party, but again, there's no claim of responsibility in any of this. But that's one lead. Again, would it be enough for him to take such drastic action without saying he did it? Difficult to say.
If you go through Zahari's Facebook posts, very politically active, very anti-government, so there's a case to be made there.
کاپیتان زهاری یک خلبان 53 ساله با 18,000 ساعت پرواز بود. او پدر 3 فرزند بالغ و پدر بزرگ هم بود. دوستاش اونو آری و خواهر و برادرزاده‌هاش عمو آری صداش می‌زدن.
Hi everyone. This is a YouTube video that I've made as a community service.
کاپیتان زهاری در زمان تعطیلی خودش برای کانال یوتیوبش ویدیو می‌ساخت. اینجا شبیه سازی پروازی رو که توی خونش داشت می‌بینید. ممکنه هواپیما رو دزدیده باشه و همه رو کشته باشه؟
I absolutely don't agree with that.
Why?
I don't see him as a person who could do that.
اما ردیابی‌های جدید ویسپر که منتشر شده خلاف این رو نشون میده. اونا با استفاده از سیگنال‌های هام رادیو جزئیات مسیر پرواز رو مطرح کردن. این اطلاعات احتمال دخیل بودن سیاست در ناپدید شدن هواپیما رو افزایش میده.
So he's come up, followed the coast of Sumatra, the east coast and the north coast, down the west coast of Sumatra, and this is the really interesting thing. That is a holding point or a holding pattern.
طبق ویسپر، مسیر پرواز 2 ساعت و نیم پس از بلند شدن این هواپیما در ساعت 3:12 بامداد به حالت الگوی انتظار فرود در اومده. چطور مطمئنی؟
Because of the shape. If you see it larger.
Wow.
So it's a 22-minute holding pattern. There's no reason to do that.
And you have to be
حتما
mad.
مسافر داشته باشی.
Normal aviation, you would think so, yeah.
این هواپیما یه الگوی انتظار فرود داشته که اساساً حدود 22 دقیقه طول کشیده که اونو به منطقه قبلی میرسونه.
Reduce the distance it could go south.
بر اساس ویسپر،
Yes.
فقط ضبط کننده پرواز خود هواپیما میتونه بگه که اون داشته الگوی انتظار رو اجرا میکرده یا نه. فکر میکنید توی اون 22 دقیقه چه خبر بوده؟
Possible negotiation between maybe someone on the ground acting in concert with Captain Zahari, who I believe was responsible. And I think you've got to take into account that his political hero, Anwar Ibrahim, was locked up 5 hours before they left. If I had to speculate, I would say there's a negotiation going on there. You have a new election, you resign, telling maybe Najib that he needs to resign. So that's a possibility.
اطلاعات به دست اومده از فناوری ویسپر نشون داده یک الگوی انتظار 22 دقیقه‌ای وجود داشته که توسط خلبان انجام شده. عکس العملتون چی بود؟
It was overwhelming, really, because what were they doing in that 22 minutes? And was there negotiations with the pilot? We should be told about it. We should know what happened in those 22 minutes.
اون زمان اصلا مسافرها زنده بودن؟ شاید بودن، شاید نه.
Who knows? Was there an onboard fight with the pilots and the passengers? Was it another September 11th? I don't know. But 22 minutes is a long time to be going around in circles. He must have been talking with someone. It's just a complete cover-up.
If that holding pattern was not there, let's say, the plane most likely would have flown further south. So that holding pattern actually then puts the plane where we think, from the oceanographic evidence, where the point of impact was.
مقامات ابتدا یک منطقه جستجوی 120,000 کیلومتر مربعی رو شناسایی کرده بودند. اما هرگز نقطه دقیقی برای محل سقوط هواپیما مشخص نشد. حالا یک تحول بزرگ توی این معمای طولانی مدت رخ داده بود. 2 منبع جداگانه یک محل مشابه رو برای سقوط شناسایی کردند. مکان دقیق 33 + 177 درجه جنوبی، 95 = 300 درجه شرقیه. میخواید این رو باور کنید؟ یا نکته دیگه ای توی ذهن دارید؟ ویسپر بزرگترین پیشرفتیه که داشتیم.
It really is. There's nothing else happening. I think it's been shown from the tests that we did that it can be used for this, and I think we've got to give it a red hot go. The potential search site is actually not that big. It could be done in a few weeks.
ویسپر چه تأثیری بر تعیین محل نهایی سقوط داره؟
It brings it further north, and it brings it to the area that Professor Cherry of the University of Western Australia said should be looked at.
That professor was on the money.
Yes,
from the early days.
Very much so.
چری پاتیراچی یکی از اقیانوس شناسان برجسته جهان و همچنین از استادان دانشگاه استرالیای غربی. با تجزیه و تحلیل جریان‌های اقیانوسی و الگوهای رانش، پروفسور چری یک محل سقوط ارائه کرد که تقریباً با مختصات ویسپر برابر بود. خب پروفسور، بعد از این همه مدت وقتی صحبت از مکان تکه‌های هواپیما میشه، تمام این مدت حق با شما بوده.
Well, we have been right all the way wrong. We were right to say where the debris may end up in the flaperon. We were the first people to tell where that debris would end up in. So we were right there, and then we were right again now.
منطقه جستجو در 1933 کیلومتری غرب پرس قرار داره. در عمق بیش از 4000 متری زیر آب، رشته کوههایی معروف به بروکن ریچ وجود داره. علیرغم دستیابی به این یافته‌ها تنها 6 ماه پس از مفقود شدن هواپیما، استاد پاتیراچی هرگز برای شرکت در تیم‌های جستجوی استرالیا دعوت نشد. پروفسور، چرا از ابتدای این پروسه از شما درخواست کمک نکردن؟
It's very hard for me to answer that. They said that they didn't know I existed, which is probably not correct. But there are lots of contractual things that goes on in, as you know, in government organizations.
They appear foolish now.
Oh, absolutely.
That was, I think, the turning point for me when I realised that it was in the same spot that he had identified many years ago. And I think that's what gave it ground for me that I think this is it. It backed it up. It's not just, pie in the sky stuff. It's, there's a lot of other theories or, positions where it could be. But this one we have two, and if that doesn't say we need to search again, then I don't know what does.
ویسپر معتبره؟
Certainly Whisper's credible. The inventor received a Nobel Prize for his work. So it is credible. Whether it's credible to track an aircraft and over these distances is yet to be determined.
میتونست بهتر باشه؟
Well, there will be a key there one day. Something will help us unlock it.
انگس میشل رئیس جدید سازمان امنیت حمل و نقل استرالیا است. آژانسی که در مأموریت جستجوی اصلی استرالیا هم نقش داشته.
You can see the plane is certainly well within the Australian search area and to the northern end of it.
این هواپیما برای مقامات استرالیایی از پرونده‌های حل نشده است. اما با توجه به پیشرفت‌های اخیر پرونده این هواپیمای محکوم به فنا، این سازمان بر مبنای گزارشات ویسپر نگاه دیگه‌ای به اون انداخت.
One of the things we have done, and it really is in the emergence of this new theory, was to, because it puts the aircraft in an area that we have already searched. So I guess me coming in with a due diligence and a new set of eyes, we are undertaking a review of the data that we hold there.
تا 8 سال پیش هیچ پیشنهادی مبنی بر اینکه زهاری هواپیما را در الگوی انتظار فرود قرار داده بود وجود نداشت. اما طبق یافته‌های ما در سال 2020 چند روز پس از ناپدید شدن اون، بحث‌ها بر سر حرکت خلبان بین شهر کامبرا و کوالالامپور بالا گرفت.
My very clear understanding from the very top levels of the Malaysian government is that from very, very early on here, they thought it was murder-suicide by the pilot.
خودشون گفتن؟
I'm not going to say who said what to whom, but let me reiterate, I want to be absolutely crystal clear. It was understood at the highest levels that this was almost certainly murder-suicide by the pilot, mass murder-suicide by the pilot.
چقدر بعد ناپدید شدن هواپیما این اطلاعات رو متوجه شدید؟
Within a matter of a week or so.
علیرغم همه این افشاگری‌ها، مقامات مالزی از نام بردن و مقصر دونستن ظهاری سر باز زدند.
I wish to be very clear. We are still investigating all possibilities as to what caused MH370 to deviate from its original flight path.
در سال 2018 مالزی آخرین گزارشات خود را برملا کرد.
The team is unable to determine the real cause for the disappearance of the MH370.
باز هم اسمی از ظهاری برده نشد. با اینکه تونی ابوت به خودکشی یا قتل بودن اون اقرار کرده بود. دلیلی که مالزیایی گفتن چی بود؟
Well, it was crystal clear to me that they had a very clear understanding that this almost certainly was what had happened.
اگه اینطور باشه، پس به نوعی روی قضیه سرپوش گذاشتن.
Look, that's not my assumption at all. And I've read all these stories that the Malaysians allegedly didn't want the murder-suicide theory pursued because they were embarrassed about one of their pilots doing this. I have no reason to accept that.
I also met with the Malaysian Prime Minister's wife a month after this happened in Perth, and she alluded to the fact that she believed that the pilot had taken the plane. Now, I got threats on Facebook about how dare you say that, that didn't happen, you know, you're putting words in her mouth. And then for our Prime Minister to come in and say he knew, I was fuming, absolutely fuming. Because what were we waiting for? What were we hanging our hearts out on every day? Every day we'd wake up saying, is today the day they're going to find them? And here's the Prime Minister sitting there knowing, and the Malaysian government knowing, that it was a murder-suicide by the pilot. So what was it all for?
هنوز صبح همین حسو دارید که امروز پیدا میشن؟
No, not so much now because we're not searching. But it's more of, are they going to find a spot to search again that's going to be enough to push the Malaysian government to search again.
طی این 8 سال فقط یک قطعیت در مورد سرنوشت شوم خدمه و 239 مسافر این پرواز وجود داشت. اون هم تکه‌های هواپیمایی بود که در ساحل یافت شد. این تکه‌ها تأییدی بر پایان سوزناک پرواز مالزی بود.
When you ditch a 175-ton airplane into a 4-meter swell at 250 kilometers an hour, it's going to break up. It's probably going to break a wing off. It's certainly going to break open the fuselage. I mean, that's a massive impact.
به دنبال این هواپیمای آسیب دیده، پروفسور چری به درستی مکانهایی را که تکه‌های هواپیما ممکن بود پیدا بشه تشخیص داد. پروفسور، به خاطر کمک‌های شما چند تکه از این هواپیما تا حالا کشف شده؟
In total, there has been 33 pieces of debris that has been found. Have not been confirmed to be MH370, but most likely would have originated from MH370. And 23 of them we have accurately predicted.
پس کلاً اطلاعات خوبی دارید.
Yeah, we have confidence in that, obviously.
این که از همون ابتدا پروفسور چری به تیم دعوت نشد، به نظرتون اشتباه بود؟
I think you're asking questions of me that occurred 5 years before I joined the agency. I do know at the time there were experts from Boeing, from Inmarsat, from the DST, from the CSIRO, from Geoscience. This was not a case of a couple of people sitting making assumptions.
Could you use them now?
Well, I guess we need to wait and see whether or not there is credence to this new theory. And then it will be something for the Malaysian government to consider if we reach to that point, and there is a request to Australia. So there's a long road ahead of us before we even consider something like that.
اگه لاشه هواپیما پیدا بشه، چه چیزی ممکنه بینشون باشه؟
Well, we are talking at water depths about 4,000 to 5,000 meters, so 4 or 5 kilometers down. And it is a very rugged, with lots of mountains, if you like, underwater mountains, volcanoes, big cliffs, ravines, etc. So we're in an area which is very close to the edge of what is called Broken Ridge, and that's a 1,000-kilometer underwater mountain range. Very, very rugged.
وقتی فکر می‌کنی که پال ممکنه بین اون همه افراد باشه، چی از ذهنت میگذره؟
Look, over the years, I really hope to be able to bring him home and have something, to bring home for us. I'm just happy now after 8 years to know where he is. That would bring me some peace, because there is no peace. So just to know that he is in this spot, whether we recover the plane or not, we just need to know. Finding something and knowing where they are will give us a step towards that peace.
Coming up.
It was a considerable search zone. It's the largest in history.
And what that's proved is where the aircraft is not. We know the truth.
They knew what they were telling the press very early on was incorrect.
عمیقاً باور دارید که پیدا میشه؟
I do think it will be found.
بایرون 8 سال شد. باورت میشه یه قدم هم به حقیقت نزدیک نشدیم. حقیقت شماست؟
If the Malaysian Prime Minister tells the Australian Prime Minister 4 days after the event that it was murder-suicide, and that ties into all the evidence, the deleted practice flight plan, that's the truth, not some theory.
We rule out a ghost flight.
Didn't happen.
نبود. سال 2014 وزیر راه و ترابری و سازمان امنیت و حمل و نقل استرالیا مبنای تحقیقات خود را بر پرواز بدون مسافر و شیرجه مرگ گذاشت که یعنی خلبان مرده بوده و همین باعث سقوط هواپیما شده. دو سال پیش کاپیتان سابق امارات در هواپیمایی مشابه موقعیت شیرجه مرگ رو شبیه سازی کرد. هواپیما طوری طراحی شده که به صورت مارپیچ حرکت میکنه و تا برخورد با اقیانوس سرعتش بیشتر میشه. ضربه بزرگیه. تا امروز بایرون بیلی معتقد به اشتباه بودن منطقه جستجو بوده. به همین دلیل هم اظهار داشت که سقوط مرگ هم نبوده. در عوض باور داره که کاپیتان ظهاری زنده بوده و تا جایی که میتونسته هواپیما رو به سمت جنوب هدایت کرده. یعنی منطقه بایرون پایین تر از منطقه جستجوست.
All the evidence points to the fact it was ditched. And I'm sure the captain, brilliant captain as he was, brilliant pilot, was trying to ditch the aircraft in as far south, remote location as possible.
My concern in this case, for those who say that the aircraft crashed in a so-called ghosted flight, they made up their minds near the start that this occurred. So they're looking for supporting evidence all the way along the line to collaborate that part. Sometimes it's convenient to turn your back on something as far as government's concerned.
دارید به چی اشاره می‌کنید؟
Countries are very protective about their own organizations, airlines, reputations, etc.
چرا مالزیایی‌ها نمیخوان پیدا بشه؟
For lots of reasons. Their initial response was botched. They big time. They knew what they were telling the press very early on was incorrect.
حتی تونی اباد در مکالمش با رهبر مالزی اینو گفته بود. میدونستن که خودکشی یا قتله؟
From the beginning.
Yeah, and that's very embarrassing, particularly if it's done for a political reason.
اینکه یه خلبان مسلمان مسبب یه خودکشی و کشتار باشه؟ احتمالاً بهش فکر میکنن.
Yeah, that's very embarrassing too. It goes against the whole narrative of the country, really.
شده طی این همه سال تغییر عقیده بدید؟ حتی یه ذره؟ سال 2020 بایرون بهمون نشون داد که فکر میکنه چه اتفاقی برای هواپیما افتاده. بایرون باور داره که خلبان تا انتهای پرواز کاملا هوشیار و سلامت بوده.
Okay, I'll start to flare now. Then we hit the water. We are dead.
So do you know where it is?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Latitude 3910 southeast 8818.
اگه بایرون درست بگه همینه. دقیقاً خارج از منطقه جستجو. مکان دقیقیه. اگه غلط باشه چی؟
Well, let's just say the ATSB, as part of their searching 40 miles either side of the arc, came within about 30 kilometres of where we reckon the airplane ditched. If I'm wrong, then it means the airplane's probably been taken by aliens or is sitting in a hangar somewhere in Kazakhstan.
منطقه پیشنهادی بایرون در حدود 920 کیلومتری جنوب غرب جایی که ویسپر مشخص کرده قرار داره. حدود 1 ساعت هوایی بین این دو نقطه فاصله است. بارون بیلی اخیراً از منتقدان سازمان امنیت بوده و باور داره منطقه برخورد همیشه در قسمت جنوبی منطقه جستجو بوده. دقیقاً خارج اون. اشتباه میکنه؟
As I said, there are a number of theories here. All of them do have elements of truth, and all of them do have elements of evidence attached to them. Until we find the plane, until we can decode, in the event that we can find it and decode what's on board there, those are questions that are going to remain unanswered.
بخشی از مشکل اینه که میگن توی قسمت شمالی، نه شرق، نه جنوبه. نظر شما چیه؟
Well, that's right, and that's why when they undertook this search, it was looking at the totality of information, and it was using the best expertise around the globe that they had at the time, with the technology they had at the time, to make the best assessment of where the plane most likely went in, and then that search zone expanded, and it was a considerable search zone. It's the largest in history.
They've already searched 250,000 square kilometres over 4 years, and what that's proved is where the aircraft is not. We know where it is. There's never been an accident.
نزدیک 8 سال گذشته و بایرون همچنان مشتاق حل معمای این پروازه، تا حدی که دوباره برای اون درخواست کرده.
238 people were murdered.
همراه استرالیایی‌ها؟
Yeah, 6 Australian. And I wrote requesting a coronial inquest. And after much prodding, a reply came back saying, we have sent the request to the Department of Justice, Attorney General's Department for consideration and analysis. Well, what do they know about aviation? Anyway, eventually the reply came back after Tony Abbott had mentioned about the murder-suicide in the 2020 documentary. And the reply said, we need further information. So I said, but isn't the fact that a former Prime Minister says there was murder-suicide committed, isn't that enough information? Never heard another word.
منصفانه است بگیم شما در این مورد وسواس دارید؟
Oh yes, absolutely, because...
چرا تسلیم نشدید؟
No, I'm backed by a lot of people worldwide egging me on, saying, keep going, we need the search to be restarted. That's why I'm here. We want the search restarted in that small area that the Australian Transport Safety Bureau refused to go that little bit further south when they could.
یعنی سر کلاف رو دقیقاً بعد از 22 دقیقه الگوی انتظار فرود به دست بگیرن. مسیریابی ویسپر همچنین احتمال دیگه‌ای از هدف زهاری رو فاش کرده. بر مبنای اون، این هواپیما داشته به سمت جرالتون در استرالیای غربی می‌رفته.
This may fit in with other narratives. That maybe the aircraft they were thinking of going to Australia, land there and request maybe political asylum. So this point here is where the aircraft is tracking direct to a point that was found on Captain Zahari's simulator.
1 هفته پس از ناپدید شدن اونها، پلیس مالزی شبیه ساز پرواز کاپیتان زهاری رو پیدا کرد که پروازی به سمت اقیانوس هند رو تمرین می‌کرد. و این دقیقاً 1 ماه پیش از این پرواز نفرین شده بود. این کشفیات تا 18 ماه پس از حادثه به بیرون درز پیدا نکرد.
Now the significance of that is that there's nowhere to land anywhere near where that track took it at the end. There are no islands, there's nothing. And so by processing that flight on his flight simulator, he was practicing what could only be a suicide murder flight.
و به دنبال معمای پرواز 370 مالزی، ایان هیگینز، خبرنگار و نویسنده روزنامه استرالیایی هم به طرز مرموزی مفقود شد. گویا هیچ اتفاق مشکوکی هم برای اون رخ نداده بود. آخرین باری که با دانیکا ویکس ملاقات کردیم به تازگی با کسی آشنا شده بود. جان. خب جان، بعد آخرین صحبتمون چی شد؟ ازدواج کردید؟ ناراحتی نداشتید؟
Always dramas, but we've always come back together. That's good. Yeah.
همونطور که خود دانیکا به ما گفت و همچنان میگه، جان تکیه‌گاه اونه. هی جانی، تو توی کل این پروسه دانیکا رو دیدی. پروسه روانی منظورمه. اصلاً آسون‌تر شده؟ نه؟ چطوره؟
Yeah, it's still there. Of course it is, yeah. It's not just Danika's journey, it's the boys too. That's the big thing for me is we've got 2 young boys that are becoming men that haven't realised yet exactly the weight of what is coming towards them.
آخرین باری که پدرشون رو دیدن، لینکلن 3 سالش بود و جک تنها 11 ماهش بود.
I don't think any of us ever realised, how long it would be. I thought that this would all be, you know, tied up in a perfect little bow. We'd know what had happened before the boys got to an older age, and we could tell them the truth and tell them what happened. You know, people used to say to me, you need to tell them the truth. And I'm like, but I don't know the truth. So I'd be lying to them. And then if they got to their age now where they're asking questions and they would say, well, you lied to us, Mum. So I'm happy I didn't give them some narrative that hasn't happened, because we just don't know yet.
Come on, Redders.
Hello. Come on. Come on, sit.
It's a massive thing for those two boys that are going to be coming into their own very soon, when they're old enough to understand and realise what has happened, what their anger's going to be, there's going to be so many emotions for them in the future that's going to be very difficult for Dan and I to deal with. Whether they take it one way or the other, it's going to be hard for them, I think. He wants to play.
He wants to play.
Get boggles! Get boggles!
از صمیم قلب باور دارید که پیدا میشه؟
I do think it will be found. When, I cannot tell you.
و کجا؟
And where. You're exactly right. If we knew where, then we would have already been found.
رئیس سازمان امنیت حمل و نقل هر روز از اون پرواز یاد میکنه و در محل کارش 2 جعبه خالی گذاشته. اون امیدواره که یک روز این جعبه ها با پاسخ این معماها پر بشن و مشخص بشه دقیقاً چه اتفاقاتی افتاده.
They were built to house the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder when an MH370 is found. So they've been sitting in my office, and it is a reminder that it remains unsolved. One day it would be great for them to be full. At the end of the day, everyone, from the families to the investigators that were part of this team, to the worldwide aviation community, to those who travel on planes, want the answers to MH370. And equally, so do I.
You know, the worst part about this is the not knowing. It's the not knowing, you know, what happened. You run so many scenarios through your brain. There's been so many theories, you know, but they are somewhere. We just need to know so we can get some peace and we can bring our loved ones home and have our memorials and our funerals. And we're still stuck at March 8th. And it's just really horrible. It's a horrible place to be. It's like hell on earth.